Even before we are born, our higher self, in flow with Source, begins shaping our body and installing our programs. From the moment our parents' DNA merge, and the flash of the merge is visible, even to science, caused by the energetic download of the patterns you will carry in life. During the pregnancy, the baby absorbs the subtle emotional landscape of the mother and of her surroundings. Her fears, her stresses, her love, her experiences. For example, when the mother constantly feels unsafe, anxious, and under pressure to please others, the baby's programs are activated by those energies. They might, depending on their blueprint, internalize a sense of unworthiness or dependency, or even defensiveness and aggression, without ever consciously experiencing the events. Birth itself is a major program triggering event, often reflecting trauma or tension from generations before. Even when the birth appears normal, these early programs shape how the body responds to sensations, stress, and relationships. I'm going to give an example from a real-life story one of my clients told me when she came to me for her third pregnancy, when I was working as a midwife. It was her second child, but it was her first child with her current partner. Physically, the pregnancy was healthy, but emotionally and mentally, it was heavy. They had just moved into a new house, a place she did not know, and she felt locked in. Her husband worked mostly and didn't fully understand why she was unhappy. She felt lonely, but there seemed to be a disconnect between them. The baby developed well and moved a lot. He had strong kicks that sometimes startled her. At the end of the pregnancy, his head never engaged. This was for the midwife she had at that time a reason to send her to birth in a hospital. Her first child had been born at home, in a familiar environment where she had full autonomy. This new scenario was very disappointing. She also felt she could not rely on her husband for support. Next to this, he did not understand why this development made her feel sad. On the night of the birth, he developed a fever, but still drove her to the hospital, but was unable to provide help or support. Loneliness seemed to follow her, this pregnancy and birth. At some point, the pushing phase started, and she felt she wanted to sit up instead of lie down, but no one wanted to help her up. She suffered unnecessary pain because of this. They were unfriendly to her and irritatedly told her to just push and shut up. The baby, who had engaged during the contractions and was born quite quickly, was screaming instantly. In the pictures from directly after the birth, which she showed me, I could see a distressed baby and an exhausted mother who had zoned out and was no longer really there because of the trauma she just went through, where her autonomy was fully taken away and she was treated as a lower being. This child grew up extremely fast developmentally, as if he was in a hurry, but with a huge drive for autonomy. From early on, he exhibited behaviors consistent with high sensitivity and extreme self-protection when people wanted things from him. He required transparency from everyone around him and could sense when people were not genuine. At 1.5 years old, some autistic behaviors became evident. He had a lot of fear when people tried to manipulate or lure him to do something, which people do to children a lot, surprisingly. He had extreme behavior sometimes in response to this. He demanded complete transparency, which not many people managed to give. In this story, you can see some programs at work. First off, the mother has some self-value issues. She does not value herself and is therefore not valued by others, not by her husband and not by the hospital staff. She also does not feel she is an autonomous being, which shows clearly in this birth story. The baby who refused to engage with this story, literally by not engaging into the birth canal, eventually had to go through the birth canal. But no matter how he tried to avoid that, by having a fast birth, the self-value and autonomy issue, he still got some of it, energetically through his mother in her process. His insistence on autonomy and transparency is a reflection of this trigger. He refuses to cooperate with people who want something from him. He steers clear of anyone who is not transparent. He is in a fight to keep his autonomy and his self-value. Sadly, fighting is a sign of fear. It means he already does not feel fully autonomous and has no self-value. That is why he feels he has to fight for it. The program he already had before the birth, when he, as a multidimensional being, was writing his own programming in connection with Source, was triggered through the pregnancy and birth of his mother. In this story, the mother worked on her autonomy and self-value issues with me throughout her third pregnancy and stands very differently in her life and her relationship now. This made it easier for her to connect with her child and help him with these issues. The child now can continue to work consciously with residual programs as he grows. Awareness and transformation can happen at any stage. This example also shows that the programs are made to have an experience, and no experience is bad. It just is, and it is changeable when you are ready for it. As adults, these early programs can show up as repeated challenges in relationships or career choices. Awareness of these patterns later in life gives you the chance to notice when old programs are active and to step in consciously. You are not doomed by the choices for your blueprint at conception or your early conditioning. You can observe, understand, and change the trajectory when you are ready for it.